Did you know one of the biggest supporters of the removal of prayer in public school was brutally murdered in 1995? Did you know that the amount of school shootings, teen pregnancy, and drug use has been on a constant rise since the removal of prayer from public schools? Bringing prayer back to school would help bring morality back to our children and youth. I have had the privilege of attending a school where prayer is not only allowed in school, but encouraged in every aspect of our education. Having received the benefits of prayer in school personally, the idea of someone not being able to pray at school motivated me to research the topic. The U.S. Supreme Court ruled that prayer in public school was unconstitutional. However, the morality of our students has been on the decline ever since. Prayer needs to be returned back to public school because it is our constitutional right, and it allows students to experience hope in a world filled with hate. The problem with no prayer in public school reaches beyond violating our freedom of speech and affects the morality of our students. The U.S. Supreme Court made its first decision against prayer in public school in 1948. In 1962, the largest ruling to date was made against prayer in public school in the ruling Engel versus Vitale. In the ruling Engel versus Vitale, all prayer in public school was struck down. Madeline Murray continued the fight against prayer in public schools, and she was labeled the most hated woman in America. She was not the first to challenge the ruling, but she was definitely the loudest. According to Bruce J. Dyrenfield, in the Journal of Supreme Court History, she became the leader of American atheism in the late 20th century. She became an atheist Joan of Arc who was committed to the destruction of God and the church. She worked for the Communist Party, managing their left-wing bookstore and recruiting new party members. Many Americans were wrongly convinced that it was Madeline Murray who had won the case against organized school prayer. Murray's sons were often used in her case against public school, but her son William later became an evangelical Christian. According to Bruce J. Dyrenfield in the Journal of Supreme Court History, Murray's bizarre death matched her bizarre life. Her former office manager, a convicted felon, kidnapped her along with her son John Garth and her granddaughter Robin just as they were headed to exile in New Zealand, extorted a fortune from them, and murdered and dismembered them in 1995. The Supreme Court has handed down at least one decision regarding prayer in public school every decade since the 1962 ruling. In 1992, the court declared prayer at graduation ceremonies to be unconstitutional. According to Charles J. Russo in Brigham Young University Education and Law Journal, if anything, the ongoing public discourse over the place of prayer and other forms of religious expression in American public schools generally, or at graduation ceremonies in particular, let alone other dimensions of public life, is a revealing barometer of how deeply conflicted American attitudes are in this regard. In 2000, the court declared student-led prayers before school ball games to be unconstitutional. According to Emma Long in the Journal of Church and State, faith under attack was a common immediate response to the court's ruling in Engel versus Vitale. Senator Barry Goldwater claimed that the court had ruled against God. Since prayer in school remains such a controversial issue, why should it be allowed back into schools? We need to overturn the ruling and allow prayer back into public schools. According to Ashley L. Cohen in School Prayer Research Starters Education, a ban on school prayer violated a student's right to the free exercise of religion, the freedom of speech, and free expression. According to Bernard Howell in Pastoral Review, the routines of prayer in school are important, and although they can be reduced to the level of compliance, they do introduce students to habits of prayer that may well be fleshed out later in life. They become sacramental occasions, potential gateways to a deeper relationship with God. The morality of students has been on the decline ever since school prayer was removed from schools. The amount of school shootings has steadily been on the rise since the latest court decision about the removal of prayer from schools. Teen pregnancies, alcohol use, and drug use have also been on the rise since the removal of prayer from schools and school functions. If we put prayer back into school, we will see a positive effect among our students as well as our teachers. Prayer in schools can offer students a sense of hope and not only reach them academically but emotionally, and help bring morality back to our children and our youth. By allowing prayer back into school, it can foster a sense of hope among today's youth. School prayer would allow religious students the opportunity to exercise their freedom of religion throughout the school day. School prayer can help fight against the disintegrating school system by actively fighting against the issues that are causing the destruction. Considering the state of our school system and the benefits of having prayer in school, we should all be actively involved in the continuous issue of school prayer. Prayer has been removed by the U.S. Supreme Court from public schools, and I believe that it has had a negative impact on our school system and that it is important to bring prayer back to public schools. We should all actively join in the fight to bring prayer back to public schools. Do you believe the U.S. Supreme Court's decision to remove prayer from schools truly keeps students from praying throughout the school day?